Sometimes the most perfect-looking moments are hiding the darkest secrets. And sometimes it takes the bravest heart in the smallest body to bring the truth into the light. This is a story about that moment, about a whisper, about courage, and about how one little girl changed everything. Picture this, a beautiful spring morning in Boston. The sun is streaming through stained glass windows, painting rainbow colors across white marble floors. The air is thick with the scent of white lilies. Everywhere you look, there are flowers, expensive suits, designer dresses. It's the kind of day that belongs in a magazine. And at the center of it all stands Michael Thornton. Now, Michael is what you'd call a self-made billionaire. He built a shipping empire from absolutely nothing. He's the kind of man whose handshake can seal $1 million deal. The kind of man who's used to being in control. But today, Michael isn't thinking about business. He's thinking about new beginnings. Beside him stands Victoria, his new partner. She's holding their infant son, Daniel. The baby is about to be christened, and Victoria? She's glowing, radiant. The picture of a perfect mother with her perfect smile and her perfect life. This was supposed to be Michael's second chance at happiness. You see, 2 years ago, Michael lost his wife, Elizabeth. Cancer took her slowly, painfully. And when she died, she took the light out of their home. She left behind Michael and their 10-year-old son, James. James. That's where the perfection starts to crack. If you look past all the flowers and the fancy guests, if you look at the front pew, you'll see him. A thin little boy in a suit that's 2 sizes too big. His shoulders are slumped. His head is down. He's staring at his polished shoes like they're the most interesting things in the world. But they're not. He's just trying not to be seen. Since his mother died, James has become a ghost in his own home. Silent. Sad. Disappearing into the corners of that massive mansion. Michael had hoped that Victoria and baby Daniel would bring his son back to life. He'd hoped this new, bright family would fix what was broken. He'd hoped wrong. Now, in the back row of that cathedral, standing near the huge carved doors, there's someone else you need to know about. Her name is Margaret Chin. She's the head housekeeper, and her family has worked for the Thorntons for generations. Beside Margaret stands her daughter, 8 years old, blonde hair, watchful blue eyes. Her name is Sophie. Sophie is James's only real friend. Michael has seen them together, out by the old oak tree at the edge of the property. When James is with Sophie, something magical happens. The sad, silent boy transforms. He laughs. He talks with his hands. He skips stones across the pond. He becomes a child again. The Chun family has a history with the Thorntons. Sophie's great-grandfather, Sergeant Oliver Chun, saved Michael's father's life during the war. There's a framed medal in Michael's study that tells that story. It's a reminder of something important: integrity, truth, courage. Those things run in the Chin family blood. And today, little Sophie is about to prove it. The pastor begins the ceremony. His voice echoes through the vaulted ceiling. And who will stand for this child? Victoria smiles at Michael. He smiles back. Everything looks perfect. But Sophie, she's not watching the pastor. She's watching Victoria. You see, Sophie has seen things. Things that nobody else noticed. Just yesterday, she was in the library. She has this favorite reading nook, hidden behind heavy curtains. It's her secret spot. And she was there when Victoria and James came in. Victoria thought they were alone. "You will stop this moping," Victoria had hissed. Her voice was low and sharp, like a knife. Sophie saw her fingers digging into James's arm, leaving white marks on his skin. "You are ruining the aesthetic of this family. If you're not careful, your father will send you to a school so far away you'll never see him again. He has a new son now. He doesn't need a sad one." James had flinched. His face went pale. And Sophie? Sophie felt something hot and bright burn in her chest. Anger. Pure anger. It wasn't right. It just wasn't right. Now, in the cathedral, Sophie looks at James in that front pew. He looks so small. So scared. So alone. She thinks about what her mother always tells her. A Chun tells the truth, no matter what. It's in our blood. Sophie makes a decision. As the pastor prepares to bless baby Daniel, Sophie slips away from her mother. "Sophie, come back," Margaret whispers, her eyes wide with panic. But Sophie is fast. She moves like a shadow, slipping past rows of guests in their fine clothes and expensive perfume. She arrives at the front, right beside the most powerful man in the city. She tugs on Michael Thornton's sleeve. Michael startles. He looks down. "Sophie, what is it, sweetheart?" "Not right now." Sophie rises on her tiptoes. She cups her small hand around his ear, and she whispers 6 words that stop his heart. "That baby isn't yours, Mr. Thornton." Time seems to freeze. The pastor's voice becomes a distant hum. The scent of lilies suddenly makes Michael feel sick. He straightens up slowly. He must have misheard. It's a child's imagination. A strange, cruel joke. He looks down at Sophie. She's not laughing. Her face is pale. Her eyes are wide with a terrible, unblinking seriousness. This is not a child playing a game. This is a soldier delivering a message. In the back row, Margaret Chin rises from her seat. Her hand is over her mouth. Her expression is pure horror. "Michael," Victoria whispers, nudging him. Her smile is tight. The pastor is waiting. Michael blinks. He's moving on autopilot now. He places his hand on baby Daniel's head as instructed. His hand feels heavy, disconnected from his body. He goes through the motions. He smiles for the photographs. He holds Daniel. But the poison is in. The seed of doubt has been planted. And it's growing. The ceremony ends. The guests move outside to the sprawling lawns for the reception. There are waiters with silver trays of champagne. A string quartet plays near the rose garden. Everyone is congratulating Michael. "He looks just like you, Michael." He has Victoria's smile. Every comment feels like a hammer blow. Every compliment feels like a question. Michael moves through the crowd like a man in a dream. He's smiling, shaking hands, accepting congratulations. But his eyes are scanning, searching. He finds them behind a large potted palm near the service entrance. Margaret has Sophie by the arm. Her voice is low and angry. "What did you think you were doing? To say such a thing to Mr. Thornton at the christening? You could ruin us, Sophie. I could lose my job. We could lose our home." "But Mommy, it's true," Sophie insists. Her voice is trembling, but she's stubborn. She's a liar. She hurts James. "What she does with her stepson is not our concern," Margaret snaps. Fear is making her sharp. "You will go to our rooms, and you will not come out. And you will never repeat that wicked story again. Do you understand me?" "No." Michael steps out from behind a marble pillar. "I'd like to understand, Margaret." Margaret spins around. All the color drains from her face. "Mr. Thornton, sir, I cannot apologize enough for Sophie. She has a wild imagination. She reads too many stories." "Does she?" Michael kneels down so he's at Sophie's eye level. His movements are slow, deliberate. "You said she hurts James?" Sophie nods. The fear vanishes, replaced by conviction. She grabbed his arm. "Yesterday, in the library. She said she would send him away. She said he was ruining the aesthetic." Michael's blood runs cold. Aesthetic. That's Victoria's favorite word. And the baby?" Michael asks. His voice is barely a whisper. "I heard her," Sophie says, her voice growing stronger now. "I was in the garden under the library window. James and me, we hide there sometimes." Miss Victoria came in. She was on the phone. She was angry. Sophie's brow furrows, like she's remembering something important. She said, "He'll never know, Richard. He's so blinded by me. He'd believe anything." She said, "He's so desperate for a family, he won't even question it." She said, "He'll raise another man's son and pay for everything." Sophie looks up at Michael. And then she laughed. "Richard?" Michael asks. The name means nothing to him. "Yes," Sophie says. "Richard." "Michael?" Victoria's voice cuts through the air like glass breaking. Sharp, bright, cold. "There you are. Your partner, Mr. Henderson, is leaving." Victoria glides onto the terrace. Her champagne flute is held perfectly. Her smile is frozen in place. Then she sees Margaret. She sees Sophie's pale, determined face. Her smile falters. "What is this?" Victoria asks. Her tone shifts. "Margaret, are you bothering Mr. Thornton?" She sneers at Sophie. "And you?" "I told you children are to be unseen today." Michael stands up. His voice is flat. "Dead." "Victoria." "Who is Richard?" Victoria laughs. It's a high, nervous sound. "Richard? What? Like the name?" "I don't know, darling. A dozen Richards." "Why? What did you say to James yesterday?" "In the library?" Victoria's eyes flicker. "Just for a second." "James?" I told him to be ready on time. He is so difficult, Michael. You know that. He's grieving." She says the word grieving like it's a disease. "She's lying," Sophie says. Her voice is clear as a bell. Victoria's beautiful face twists into a mask of pure hatred. She takes a step toward the child. You little vermin. You little servant girl. How dare you? Get away from her," Michael commands. Victoria stops. She's never heard that tone from him before. This isn't the kind, grieving widower she's been managing. This is the voice of the man who built an empire. You, she spits at Sophie. You're going to believe her? A servant? Over me? The mother of your child. Michael looks at her. Really looks at her. And for the first time in a year, he sees clearly. Is he? Michael asks quietly. Is he my child? Yes. Yes, of course he is. How dare you ask me that after all I've done to give you this family? Good, Michael says. He pulls out his phone. Then you won't mind a DNA test. The words hang in the air. The string quartet stops playing. The guests turn to look. A test. Victoria stammers. You're joking. No. A test. Just a simple swab. To clear the air. To prove this little girl is a liar and that I'm being absurd. Victoria stares at him. She looks like a cornered animal. She looks from Michael to Margaret to the stone-faced little girl who has just ruined everything. I am not, she whispers, her voice venomous, going to be humiliated by staff. This party is over. You have embarrassed me, Michael. You have embarrassed yourself. She turns and storms back into the house. Michael stands there for a moment. He looks at Margaret, who is now weeping silently into her hands. Mr. Thornton will pack. We'll be gone tonight. You will do no such thing, Michael says firmly. He kneels in front of Sophie one more time. He places his large hands on her small shoulders. You were very brave, he says. Your great-grandfather would be proud of you. Now, I need you to stay with your mother. Lock your door. Do not speak to anyone but me. Do you understand? Yes, sir, Sophie says. Michael stands. He finds his oldest friend and lawyer, David, by the champagne fountain. David, Michael says. The party is over. Tell them Daniel has a sudden fever. Tell them Victoria is exhausted. I don't care. Get everyone out. Now. David, seeing the look in Michael's eyes, doesn't argue. It's done. Within 20 minutes, the music stops. The guests are gone. The house is silent. Michael walks into the grand hall. His footsteps echo on the polished marble floor. The scent of lilies is overpowering. He finds James sitting on the bottom step of the main staircase, still in his heavy suit. James, Michael says. James looks up. His eyes are red. Is it true, Dad? What Sophie said. What did she tell you? She told me she was going to tell you, James whispers. About the baby. And about Richard. Michael's blood runs cold. You knew about Richard? I saw them, James says. New tears well up. In the driveway last month when you were in Chicago. He had a shiny red sports car. He was yelling at her. He said, You're getting greedy, Victoria. Stick to the plan. And she yelled back, The plan doesn't work unless he's fully on board. Michael's knees feel weak. She saw me watching from the window, James continues. His voice cracks. She came to my room. She told me if I ever said anything, she would make you send me away. And you'd believe her because she gave you a baby, and all I gave you was sadness. Michael sinks to his knees on the cold marble. He pulls his son into an embrace, so tight it almost hurts. He buries his face in James's hair. I am so sorry, James, Michael chokes out. I am so sorry. I failed you. I didn't see. I didn't protect you. It's okay, Dad, James cries, clinging to him. Sophie said she'd fix it. She said she's a Chen, and Chens aren't afraid of monsters. Michael holds his son. An 8-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy had more courage than he'd shown in a year. He'd been so desperate to fill the hole Elizabeth left, he'd invited a monster into their home. I'm calling the doctor, James, Michael says. His voice is steel now. And we're going to fix this. Tonight. The test results are coming. The truth is coming. But will Michael be ready for just how dark this deception really goes? The house felt different that night. Cold. Empty. Like it was holding its breath. Michael sat with James on those marble stairs for a long time. Just the two of them in that massive, echoing hall. A father and son who had been strangers in their own home. Finally holding on to each other like lifelines. Go to your room, James, Michael finally said. His voice was rough, tired. Lock the door. I will come and get you when it's safe. I want to stay with you, James said. His small hand gripped Michael's arm tight. I know, but I need you to be safe. I can't think straight unless I know you're secure. Michael looked his son in the eyes. Really looked at him. I will not let her hurt you ever again. This ends tonight. James saw something in his father's face. The vague, sad man who'd drifted through the house for 2 years? He was gone. The man sitting before him now was the one who negotiated billion-dollar deals. The one whose quiet no could end a career. James nodded. Okay, Dad. He ran up the stairs. The sound of his footsteps disappeared. Then came the soft, heavy click of his bedroom door locking. Michael was alone. He made 2 phone calls. The first was to his head of security. Mark, former Secret Service. The kind of man who didn't ask unnecessary questions. Mark, Michael said, his voice low and controlled. No one leaves this estate. No one. And I want to know who Richard is. Red sports car. Check all security footage for the last 2 months. I want a name. Understood, sir. The second call was to Dr. Benjamin Foster. Dr. Foster had been the Thornton family physician for 40 years. He'd delivered Michael. He'd treated Elizabeth through her illness. He was a man of absolute old-world discretion. Michael, it's 9 o'clock. Is everything all right? The old doctor's voice was gravelly with concern. Benjamin, I need you. Bring a DNA test kit. The fast one. The one you use for legal matters. There was a pause on the line. Dr. Foster didn't ask why. He simply said, I'm 20 minutes away. Michael found Margaret and Sophie in the kitchen. They were huddled at a small table, a half-packed duffel bag on the floor. Mr. Thornton, we're ready to leave, Margaret said, rising. Her eyes were red from crying. You are not leaving, Michael said. His voice was firm but kind. He knelt before Sophie again. What you did today, Sophie, was the bravest thing I have ever seen. Your great-grandfather, Sergeant Chin? He would have been so proud. Sophie looked at her mother, then back at Michael. You're not mad. I am angry, Sophie. But not at you. Never at you. He placed a hand on Margaret's arm. You and your daughter are part of this family, Margaret. You are safe here. Go to your rooms. Lock your door. This will be over soon. Margaret clutched his hand. Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir. Michael walked back to the grand hall. He stood at the bottom of the sweeping staircase and looked up into the darkness. Victoria, he called. His voice didn't echo. It filled the space. No answer. He took the stairs 2 at a time. He walked down the plush hallway, past portraits of his ancestors. He stopped at the door to the master suite. It was locked. Victoria, Dr. Foster is on his way. He's coming to take a DNA sample from me and from the baby. He heard a muffled sound inside. A frantic whisper. She was on the phone. Victoria, open the door or I will have security remove it. He waited. 1 second. 2. The lock clicked. The door opened. Victoria stood there, not in her fine party dress, but in a silk dressing gown. Her eyes were hard. Her face was pale. She was holding baby Daniel, clutching him to her chest like a shield. You're insane, she hissed. You are having a breakdown. You're going to listen to a child, a servant, and humiliate me? This will be in the papers by morning, Michael. Billionaire loses his mind. Is that what you want? Michael walked past her into the room. What I want is the truth. I should have wanted it a long time ago. He saw her cell phone on the unmade bed, screen side down. She'd been talking to Richard. The test is an insult, she said, her voice rising, trying to find that hysterical pitch that always made him back down. It is an accusation. I will not have my son subjected to this. He is not your son, Michael said. Victoria froze. What? I mean, he is not just your son. If he is mine, he is my son, and I am his father, and I am ordering the test. And if you refuse, then what? She challenged, her eyes glinting. Then I will know the answer, Michael said simply. And you will leave this house tonight with nothing. Not a dollar. Not a dress. I will call the police and have you removed for fraud, and I will file for sole custody until the courts can prove paternity. Your choice. She stared at him. The kind, grieving fool was gone. You bastard, she whispered. Get the baby ready, Michael said. The doctor is here. Dr. Foster was waiting in the library. Tall, thin, with white hair and a face that had seen too much. He carried a small locked medical case. He said nothing. He just looked at Michael with sad, knowing eyes. Michael brought baby Daniel from the nursery. The child was sleeping, beautiful and innocent. Michael felt a terrible pang. He'd tried to love this baby. He'd tried so hard to see himself in those small features. He'd only seen Victoria. Victoria followed them into the library, her face a mask of cold fury. It's a simple cheek swab, Dr. Foster said calmly. It will not hurt the child. Michael, you first. The doctor took the sample from Michael. Bagged it. Labeled it. Now the boy. He gently woke Daniel, who whimpered softly. The doctor took the sample. Bagged it. Labeled it. Now, Victoria, if you please. Why me? She snapped. We know I'm the mother. It's for a full panel, my dear, Dr. Foster said. His voice was mild, but his eyes were sharp. To check against both of you. It makes the results indisputable. Victoria sat. She glared at Michael as the doctor took her sample. This is over, she said. You know that, right? Whatever this test says, we are over. You have destroyed us. No, Michael said, his gaze fixed on the small sealed bags on the desk. You did. Dr. Foster packed his case. I will run this myself at my lab. No one else will touch it. You will have your answer before sunrise. Thank you, Benjamin, Michael said. The doctor paused at the library door. He looked at Victoria, then at Michael. Elizabeth would have been proud of you tonight, Michael. You are finally awake. He left. Michael sat in his study. The framed medal of Sergeant Oliver Chun was on his desk. Michael stared at it. A man who ran into gunfire to save his friend. A man of honor. The house was silent. Too silent. Victoria was in her room with Mark standing guard outside her door. Matthew was asleep. Margaret and Sophie were safe. Michael waited. He watched the clock. 3 a.m. 4 a.m. He thought about the last 2 years. His grief for Elizabeth had been a fog. He'd been so lonely, so desperate to give James a new mother, a complete family. He'd met Victoria at a charity gala. She was beautiful, vibrant. She seemed so simple, so kind. She wasn't from his world. She was a fundraiser for an art museum. He saw it now. It was all a lie. A careful, calculated performance. She'd seen a broken, wealthy man, and she'd played a part perfectly. His phone buzzed. It was Dr. Foster. Michael's hand trembled as he picked it up. Benjamin. Michael. The doctor's voice was heavy. Tired. I ran the test. And I ran it again. There is no question. Michael closed his eyes. Tell me. The baby Daniel, he is a healthy boy. No genetic issues. But Michael. The doctor paused. Paternity is a 0% match. There is no biological possibility that you are his father. Michael let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. It was a strange, hollow feeling. Not relief, not even anger. Just a cold, hard confirmation. Sophie was right. Thank you, Benjamin, Michael said quietly. There is something else, Dr. Foster said. His voice was hesitant. Something very strange. What? The test against Victoria. The one I insisted on. What about it? Michael asked, opening his eyes. Michael. The doctor's voice was steady now. Certain. She isn't his mother either. Michael gripped the edge of his desk. The solid wood felt like sand beneath his fingers. What did you say? She is not the mother, Dr. Foster repeated firmly. The maternity test is as conclusive as the paternity one. 0% match. That baby is not related to you or to her. Michael, where did she get this child? The question hung in the air, more chilling than any ghost. This wasn't a simple case of infidelity. This wasn't a lie to trap a rich man. This was something else. Something darker. Michael's mind raced. It all clicked into place now. Every small, strange detail that his grief had allowed him to ignore. The miraculous pregnancy announcement on the first anniversary of Elizabeth's death. He'd been a wreck then, unshaven, drinking too much. She'd held him in his dark study and told him, "This is a sign, Michael. A sign that we are meant to heal." The immediate, careful isolation. "Let me handle all the appointments," she'd said. "You have so much to deal with. Let me protect our little miracle." He'd let her. He'd been grateful for it. The few ultrasound photos she'd shown him? They could have been anyone's. Screenshots from the internet. The private midwife who made house calls to avoid the press. And then the birth. Sudden, in the middle of the night. She'd called from her cell phone, panting. "It's happening too fast. I'm already in the car. Just meet me at the clinic." By the time he'd gotten there, she was in a pristine room, makeup touched up, holding a calm, quiet baby. A baby she had bought. "Michael, be careful." Dr. Foster's voice pulled him back. "This is a criminal matter." "Send me the report," Michael said, his voice a hoarse whisper. "Encrypted. Do not speak of this to anyone." The line clicked. Michael stared at his phone. He'd been prepared for betrayal. He was not prepared for this. He thought of the child. Daniel. A baby boy with no name, no parents, used as a pawn in a monstrous game. A cold, hard fury settled over him. His other line buzzed. "Mark, his head of security." "Speak," Michael said. "We have him, Mr. Thornton." Mark's voice was all business. "The red sports car. It's registered to a Richard Brennan. Disbarred lawyer. Lost his license 2 years ago for fraud and jury tampering. And there's more. He's been on a federal watch list for 6 months. Michael sat upright. For what? Suspicion of involvement in an illegal adoption ring. They target wealthy, desperate individuals. People who can't pass the scrutiny of legal adoption. Or in your case, sir, people who think the child is their own. Michael realized it then. She was going to run. It seems that way, sir. My men are on the perimeter. He can't get in and she can't get out. What are your orders? Keep him off this property. I want him nervous. And send someone to the main hall. Discreet. Plain suit. Victoria is not to be confined to her room anymore. I want her to see him standing guard. I want her to know she's trapped. Understood, sir. Michael climbed the stairs. He felt a strange, cold calm. The fog of grief was gone, burned away by the truth. He didn't knock. He walked into the master suite. Victoria was by the window, phone in hand, staring into the darkness. She was dressed in expensive jeans and a cashmere sweater. A packed designer duffel bag sat at her feet. She was ready to run. She spun around. My phone has no signal. What did you do? You can't hold me here. This is kidnapping. It's a signal jammer, Michael said calmly. Standard security. I can't have you calling your partner. I don't know what you're talking about, she shrieked. Paul Krenler, Michael said. Disbarred lawyer. Fraud specialist. Currently on a federal watch list for illegal adoptions. Victoria's face went white. I don't, she stammered, backing away. The party is over, Victoria. Dr. Foster called. So you found out, she spat, her fear turning to venom. Congratulations, Michael. You're sterile. Your precious Elizabeth was sick for so long, and you were so weak. He's not my son, Michael interrupted. That's true. I have the report. He held up his phone. But then I looked at the rest of the test. The rest? She looked confused now. Uncertain. The baby's test. And your test, Victoria. He saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. The one variable she hadn't accounted for. It's a mistake, she whispered. The test is wrong. No, Michael said. It's 100% accurate. He's not my son. And Victoria? He stepped closer. He's not your son either. Victoria's knees buckled. She slid down the wall, landing on the plush carpet. The mask, the beautiful partner, the loving mother, the cold con artist, it all evaporated. What was left was small and ugly and terrified. No, she whimpered. No, you're lying. Where did you get him? Michael demanded. Who is this baby? Did you buy him? Did you steal him? I had to, she finally screamed, rocking back and forth. I had to. Tell me. And then it all came pouring out. The broken, desperate confession. I was pregnant. I really was. With Richard's baby. We were going to pass his child off as yours. You were so broken, so lonely. You'd never question it. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Real tears this time. And then I lost it. At 6 months, I lost the baby. It was a boy. Michael said nothing. He just watched her unravel. Richard said it was fine. He said we could still make it work. He said he knew people. He could get us a replacement. A baby that looked enough like me, born at the right time. She choked on the words. He said it was just business. We just needed a prop to seal the deal. To get your name, to get access to the estate, to the accounts. A prop, Michael repeated. The word was poison in his throat. We paid, she whispered. $20,000 to a clinic. Richard handled it. They gave us the baby. They gave us the fake birth certificate. It was so easy. You took a child from its mother, Michael said, his voice shaking. You bought a human being so you could steal my money. You were going to find out anyway, she lashed back suddenly. When he got older, when he looked nothing like you. This was just a way to get what I deserved. And James? Michael asked, his voice deadly quiet. Was threatening to send my son away just business too? He knew, she whimpered. The little brat. He saw Richard. He kept looking at me like he knew. He was a threat. I had to control him. Michael looked at this woman, this hollow, empty thing, and felt nothing but cold, vast emptiness. Get your bag, he said. What? Are you letting me go? She scrambled to her feet, hope flickering in her eyes. Oh, Michael, thank you. I'll disappear. You'll never. You're going to walk down the main staircase. You're going to walk out the front door. The man standing there will escort you. Escort me where? She asked, grabbing her bag. To the police car that is waiting for you at the end of the driveway. I have already sent them the DNA report and Richard Brennan's file. They are very interested in speaking with you about child trafficking. Her face went slack. No. No, Michael. You can't. Think of your reputation. The scandal. You should have thought of that, Michael said. You threatened my son. You brought a stolen child into my home. My reputation is the last thing on my mind. You're destroying me, she shrieked. You destroyed yourself, Victoria. You just didn't know it until tonight. He stepped aside. Go. Now. Victoria stared at him with pure hatred. She grabbed her bag and ran. Michael listened to her footsteps on the stairs. The sharp clack-clack-clack on the marble. He heard her gasp when she saw Mark's man. He heard the heavy front door open, and then close. And for the first time in 2 years, the house was clean. Michael walked to the nursery. He'd hated this room. It was Victoria's creation, sterile whites and pale grays. Cold like a catalog. But now it was just a room. In the dim light, he looked at the sleeping child. Daniel. A name given by a woman who was not his mother. This boy was the greatest victim in all of this. A piece of merchandise. Michael felt a sudden, powerful wave of protectiveness. He gently reached into the crib and picked the baby up. The boy was warm and heavy. He smelled like milk and powder. He stirred but didn't wake. Michael held the baby and walked to the window, looking out over the dark lawns. The police car at the end of the drive flashed its lights once. Then it pulled away, taking Victoria with it. He was alone with his son and a stolen baby. What was he supposed to do? This child had no one. He heard a small noise at the door. James was standing there. Beside him, in her bathrobe, was Sophie. Margaret stood behind them, her hand on Sophie's shoulder. Is she gone? James asked quietly. Yes, Michael said. She's gone. She will never be back. James let out a long, shaky breath. He walked into the nursery and looked at the baby in Michael's arms. So he's not our brother, James said. It wasn't a question. No, Michael said. He's not. What's going to happen to him? Michael looked down at the child. I don't know, son. The people Victoria got him from, they were very bad people. He doesn't have a family. Yes, he does, Sophie said. Her voice was small but clear. Michael looked at her. He's here, she said, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. We found him. You can't just send him away. That's what she would do. He needs a name, James said, reaching out a tentative finger to touch the baby's hand. He does, Michael agreed, his throat tight. What about Oliver? Sophie suggested. For my great-grandfather. He was brave. Michael looked at Margaret, who had tears streaming down her face. He looked at James, who was watching the baby with wonder, not resentment. And he looked at the child in his arms. A child who had been bought and sold and had, by some miracle, landed here. Landed with them. Oliver, Michael said, testing the name. Oliver Thornton. He felt the baby squeeze his finger. The next 3 days were a blur. Federal agents and private investigators moved through the library. Richard Brennan's face was on the news. The story of Victoria's arrest had been contained, framed as simple fraud. The true dark story of the baby was known only to the people in this house. While investigators worked, a strange new life took root. Michael refused to let strangers handle baby Oliver. He, Margaret, and James took turns. Michael learned to change diapers. He learned to warm bottles. He would sit in his study, Oliver sleeping on his chest, and for the first time in 2 years, he felt the heavy weight of grief begin to lift. James was different. The sullen ghost was gone. He was a doting older brother. He would sit by the crib and tell Oliver about video games, about school, about his mother. She would have loved you, James would whisper. Sophie was his partner. She showed James how to hold Oliver's head, how to make him smile. They were a family. Strange, broken, beautiful. On the 4th day, David, Michael's lawyer, walked into the study. Michael was holding Oliver, rocking him gently. David, Michael said, looking up. Did they find him? He meant Richard. They did, David said. He looked exhausted. Caught at the Canadian border. He's talking. Giving up the whole network. It's over, Michael. The baby is safe. Michael let out a breath. Good. Good. But there's more, David said, his voice heavy. Michael, sit down. We found her. We found the mother. Michael's heart stopped. Where is she? Is she all right? She's why I'm here. David sat down. The nurse who worked for Richard's network? She confessed everything. The mother's name is Emma. Emma Chun. Michael's blood ran cold. Chun. Like Margaret? Like Sophie. David nodded, his eyes sad. She's Margaret's niece. Her estranged older brother's only daughter. The one who ran off to the city a few years ago. She's Emily's first cousin. Michael remembered Sophie's words. I have a baby cousin once. My God, Michael whispered. Margaret, does she know? Not yet. There's more. David hesitated. Emma is very sick. She had complications after the birth. She's been hospitalized ever since. The nurse told her the baby was stillborn. Michael felt physically ill. She thinks her baby is dead. Yes. And Michael. David slid a paper across the desk. The DNA. Dr. Foster ran the baby's DNA through the national database. We got a familial match to a sealed military file. The baby's father was a soldier. He was killed in action 2 months ago. He never knew Emma was pregnant. Michael looked at the name. It meant nothing to him. The soldier's DNA matched another sample in the veteran's database. The baby's paternal grandfather is Sergeant Oliver Chun. Michael's world tilted. That's not possible. It is, David said. Margaret's grandfather and the soldier's father were brothers. 2 branches of the same family. Emma and the soldier were cousins. They found each other, fell in love. And now, he gestured to the baby. This child is a Chun. Through and through. The blood of the man who saved your father. Michael looked at the baby in his arms. Sophie hadn't just saved a random baby. She had saved her own blood. Her own family. Get Margaret, Michael said, his voice shaking. And James. And Sophie. Get them all. Now. They stood in the study. Margaret, Sophie, James. Michael by the fireplace, still holding Oliver. Margaret, Michael began. We found Oliver's mother. Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, sir. Thank God. Is she well? Her name is Emma Chun. Margaret froze. Her eyes widened. No. That cannot be. My brother's Emma? Our Emma? Yes, Michael said gently. She's been at the hospital. She's very sick. And Margaret, she was told her baby died at birth. Margaret let out a sound, a deep, wounded noise from the center of the earth. She fell to her knees. My girl. My girl. Oh God in heaven. Sophie rushed to her, wrapping her arms around her mother's neck. Mommy, what is it? It's your cousin, baby, Margaret sobbed. It's Emma. And this baby, he's family. He's ours, Sophie finished. Her voice was clear. She looked at Michael. I knew it. James looked at his father, his eyes wide. We have to give him back, don't we? Michael looked at his son. He nodded. Yes, son. We do. The drive to the hospital was silent. Michael drove. Margaret sat in the passenger seat, her hands clasped tightly. In the back, James sat on one side, Sophie on the other. Between them, in a new car seat, was baby Oliver. They walked through cold, sterile hallways. A federal agent met them. She's weak, the agent said. But she's strong. She's ready. The room was dim. A young woman, pale and thin, with the same blonde hair as Sophie, was propped up on pillows. She looked at the door. Her eyes met Margaret's. Auntie Margaret, Emma whispered. Oh, my girl, Margaret wept, rushing to the bed, taking her niece's thin hand. My sweet girl. I'm so sorry, Auntie, Emma cried. I lost him. I lost my baby. No, Margaret whispered. No, you didn't, baby. You didn't. Michael stepped forward. He was holding Oliver. Emma's eyes widened. She looked from Michael to the bundle in his arms. They told me he was gone, she whispered, her voice breaking. They lied, Michael said, his own voice thick. He's perfect. He's a fighter. Just like your family. He stepped forward. Emma's arms, thin and trembling, came up. Michael Harrison, billionaire, the man who had lost everything, gently placed the baby into the arms of his mother. Emma pulled Oliver to her chest. She let out a sob, a sound of such profound, agonizing relief that it shook the room. She buried her face in his blanket, breathing him in. My baby. My baby. You're alive. Michael stepped back. James came and stood beside him, his hand finding his father's. Sophie went to the bed, her small hand resting on her mother's back. Margaret held her niece, who was holding her cousin. Michael watched them. The 4 of them clustered around the hospital bed. A family broken by tragedy and lies, being stitched back together by a miracle. He finally understood. The DNA test hadn't just revealed that Victoria was a liar. It had revealed this. A truth hidden in blood and bone. A hero's legacy wasn't a medal on a wall. It was in the courage of his 8-year-old great-granddaughter. A house wasn't a home. But this was family. Come on, son, Michael whispered, putting his arm around James. Let's give them some time. He turned, and with his son, he walked out into the hall. He had entered that cathedral with 1 child and a manufactured family built on desperate grief. He was leaving this hospital with something infinitely more valuable. A true home, forged not through deception, but through the brave whisper of an 8-year-old girl who refused to let injustice stand. Victoria and Richard would face justice. Baby Oliver would grow up with his mother, surrounded by the Chun family's unbreakable integrity. And Michael and James? They would rebuild their lives, finally free from the fog of grief and lies. The mansion that had felt like a tomb was now filled with life, laughter, and the promise of healing. A home at last. And that, friends, is where we leave them. Michael, James, and the Chun family. Finally understanding that family isn't always defined by blood, but by the courage to do what's right, no matter the cost. Sometimes the smallest voice carries the biggest truth. Sometimes an 8-year-old girl can change everything with just 6 words. And sometimes, when everything falls apart, that's exactly when something beautiful can finally begin. What part of this story moved you the most? Was it Sophie's courage? Emma's reunion with her baby? Or Michael finally waking up and protecting his son? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe. Because there are more stories like this waiting to be told. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Until next time.